There we go.
Hey.
All right. Good evening, everyone. And if you are joining us, thank you. If you're watching Boris, why?
Yeah. You will still not know what to do.
Anyway, tonight we're just going to have a quick recap, obviously, on last week's topic, which was all about hourly rates and how to calculate your hourly rate. So I will share my screen in a little bit, which hopefully will work and not be a complete disaster.
We have done this before. We have practiced this. We are good.
And on Zoom.
Yeah.
We'll work fine on Zoom. So obviously we've posted a bit throughout the week on hourly rates. I did put up an example which I will run through as well with everybody. And then we've actually got another image to show you and a quick calculation just to kind of put it in perspective for you.
Because I think one thing that I think certainly I wondered about is when people hear the terminology hourly rate, you tend to think of an hourly rate that you get in a job. And that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is the hourly rate you charge onto your products.
Yes.
And that needs to include not just what you take home, but also the overheads and the tax and all those sorts of exciting things. So that's why sometimes when you look, and the fact that you don't work every hour on making a product.
Exactly. Yes, you've got to account for that non-admin time as well. So
absolutely,
you don't work 100% of your time on billable hours.
Yep.
I don't.
No.
I probably billable hours for me are probably 75%, which is probably about what which for some people would be about right. Others it might be 50-50 or even lower.
A lot of my hours are done in the setup, you see, whereas the selling of the kits is a lot less time. So all my time is front loaded. So I need to apportion that out and put that into the time that I'm doing. We'll talk about this.
Yeah. So we've decided so we are starting to get into the nitty gritty of what this group is all about. So we've obviously decided we'll start with the hourly rate issue first. So I think that confuses people most.
Yeah, because we've done a bit about materials already. So you kind of know where we are on the actual materials that go into making whatever it is that you make. And then the hourly rate, you're right, Louise, that's the really sticky one.
Yeah.
And then after we've got that, then you kind of reverse engineer it the other way and look at the pricing of your item.
Yeah.
Which we'll start getting into in the next couple of weeks.
Yes.
You need to know your numbers first.
Yes, exactly. I think that's going to be our motto.
It is, isn't it? Your numbers.
Know your numbers.
Your numbers. Numbers don't all come naturally to everyone, but you do need to know them.
So should we jump into the first image that we've got? Now, hopefully this is going to work. So forgive me if I end up cutting us off completely, but I will get us back if that happens. So let's see. Let's just make sure I get the right infographic up first. So hopefully, there we go.
Yay, I can see that.
So hopefully everybody can see it. I will zoom in. So what I'm going to do is I will zoom into the top. We'll just start at the top. So if everybody can see that, hopefully. I'll zoom in a touch more. And we'll just basically, I'm just going to kind of just run through it and kind of go through each section. And then we'll look at the example that I posted into the group last week.
Yes.
So obviously I've done 5 steps. So I've kind of tried to make it as simple as possible. Obviously the first one is what you would like to earn. Obviously we kind of always say to you to try and be realistic. We would all love to earn 100,000, 200,000 a year. It'd be brilliant. You know, 1 million would be nice.
Oh, absolutely. A good way to think about it though sometimes is what do you need to cover your personal expenses? So your mortgage, your utilities, food, what is it that you physically need in your
exactly.
household.
So that's exactly. So yeah, so obviously what it says there is what you need to cover household bills plus a little bit extra for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to give yourself some spending money to buy whatever you want. So that's always the first one. So yeah, so the tagline is be realistic. If I scroll up, so the next one is just for you to look at your business expenses. So this is nothing to do with materials. So leave your materials out at this stage. That comes in at a later stage. So all we're looking for are obviously your office costs, any mileage costs that you have, office costs, so stationery, printing, anything to do with that, inks for your printers, mobile phone costs. So even if you use a personal mobile, if you do also use it for business,
absolutely,
apportion it. So what percentage do you use for business and put that in your costs? Marketing and advertising. What, you know, some of these will be estimated costs as well. So especially when you're looking at estimated costs, again, be realistic. Bank fees or other service fees, or if you use PayPal,
like or anything like that. Or Etsy is a good one as well. PayPal, they take a percentage.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is insurance here. So obviously you'll have your public liability insurance if people come to you, and your indemnity or whatever other insurance you need for your business.
Yeah.
Professional fees, so legal fees, accountancy fees, anything like that.
And membership association fees as well go in there. So membership association fees go in there as well. So if you're a guild or something like that.
Absolutely. Subscriptions. So if you've got any trade subscriptions or you subscribe to any magazines related to your work as well, and then any equipment. And so if you've bought a laptop, obviously you're going to have to try and apportion it as a monthly fee. So it might be a negligible amount, but still put it in there, because those are, you know, those are costs that you're going to incur, I should say. I'm getting my words muddled up tonight already. You know what I mean, it's fine. So if we scroll down, once you have those two figures, so obviously these are all annual figures at the moment, so we're looking as a year as a whole. So once you've got that, you can work out your adjusted earnings, which is simply your figure from step one, and then add on your business expenses, which will give you your adjusted figure. So all will become clear when I run through the example.
3, which is nice.
Yes. And the next is billable hours. So obviously the total available working hours in a year is 2,080. So
can't see us doing all of that.
Exactly. Nobody is going to do that. That's working 40 hours a week every week. We need a break.
Yes.
So basically it's just a few questions to ask yourself. So how many days per week will you work? How many hours in those days are you going to work? Some people might work a full 8 hours. You might only want to work 5 or 6 hours. And then also you need to think about holidays. So how many holidays are you going to take in a year? So I've done it as how many weeks. So obviously if you're going to be working 4 days a week and you take 2 weeks holiday, you need to calculate that as 8 days. Because obviously you're only working 4 days.
You have 8 days of bank holidays during the year too.
Exactly.
So you need to take those into account as well.
If you're not going to work them.
Yeah, that's true.
You might decide. It's up to you. You can work bank holidays or not. We'll leave that decision up to you. And then obviously, flexible. Exactly. And then obviously percentage of non-billable hours as well. So your admin time. So you can work all those figures out. And then once you have all these figures, you can then work out your hourly rate. So all you do is a simple calculation. You're just going to divide your adjusted earnings figure by your billable hours, and that will give you your hourly rate, and then you can just round it up so it's a round figure. So it's fairly straightforward, but you just need to gather the information. The time is gathering all that information.
Exactly, it is. It's gathering it all together and not feeling too overwhelmed by it, because it sounds a lot, but actually it's not that much.
No.
And your hourly rate, the number 5 there, you may turn out and think, oh my God, that's ridiculous. That's like £30 an hour or £50 an hour, or, you know, I think mine worked out at about £50 an hour or something. And I thought, I can't charge 50, but that's it. That is the whole point. Is
yes, exactly.
I spent 8 hours today, well, actually more than 8 hours today, working on my business. How long have I spent actually painting? Oh God, SteamYard goes the wrong way, doesn't it? That actually painting a guinea pig, probably 4. So a lot less than I have actually been working on my business. And yesterday I didn't paint at all.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, your hourly rate, you can at least get it and say, well, actually, I just don't feel I can charge that. So it gives you then the option to reduce it. But then on the other flip side of that, you could then go back to step 1 and actually look at that first initial figure.
Yes.
And say, well, actually, am I being realistic? You know, and ask yourself that question.
Yeah. It's like I've done that with certainly in the month flipping SteamYard. It's all the wrong way round. It's not like Zoom. It's the other. Anyway, what I've worked out is the fact that a lot of my income doesn't just come from commissions. So I need to break down where my income is coming from. And actually my hourly rate is different for different income streams. And also some income streams don't actually involve any work. So selling prints and things like that doesn't actually involve any of my work, but it is income. So that reduces my how much do I need to earn by my hourly rate.
Yeah.
Because yes, I need X amount a year, let's say, I don't know, let's say 40,000 a year. But if I'm making 10,000 a year in prints, I actually only need 30,000 a year to go into my hourly rate calculation.
Yeah, exactly. So you can just keep looking at it and rejigging it. And obviously, one thing I haven't mentioned is tax and national insurance. I've kept the initial infographic quite simple. Yeah. Obviously, you do need to remember about tax and national insurance.
Well, actually, I know I shouldn't have these ideas while we're on a call that's live, because that is usually asking for trouble. But it would be quite fun, she says. So maybe to set up a spreadsheet where it's got calculations in it, and you just put the numbers in, and it spits out an hourly rate. Yeah, and that way you can put in your number of hours you think you're going to need to work, and you can play with it and see what happens if you adjust. And things like if I know that my billable hours are going to be, I don't know, 20 hours a week because I'm only doing 3 commissions a month or something. And then I think, well, actually, if I up my commissions, that's going to up my billing, and that's going to reduce my hourly rate because I'll be doing more billable hours per week or something like. If you see, sorry,
okay, I will have a look and I will put a spreadsheet together.
It's the sort of thing, I think I've probably got one that's very rudimentary, actually, that I've played around with, because then you can do, oh, I wonder if I change that figure there, that hourly rate there, what does that do to my calculation?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something I can look at and get it uploaded into the file section. Thank you, Sue.
I promise not to think while on calls.
Think before you. Or should I say, don't think before you speak?
No, I should stop.
Right. So,
nobody comments, we won't do it.
We'll move on. So hopefully this will take us to the next one, which it does. Oh, that seems to have gone blank.
Oh.
Hang on. Let me remove that.
Yeah.
It seems to have decided to not share that screen again. So we'll just do this one. Hopefully everybody can see this one. There we go. Okay, so this was the quick example that I did.
Right, yes.
And posted. So I'll run through this quite quickly. And I've just literally just plucked figures out of thin air for this. I've ignored tax and national insurance as well, again, just to keep it simple for now. So again, I've put in, so step one, I've just put in 20,000, fairly realistic figure, covers all my bills, gives me some spending money. And then obviously business expenses, I've just grouped at 5,000 a year. So which obviously gives me a adjusted earnings of 25,000. So again, fairly straightforward. So if we have a look at step 4, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. People can hopefully see it a bit better.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, is that better?
Yeah.
So I've said I'm going to work 4 days a week, and I'll work 7 hours a day. So over a week, you can see it's 28 hours a week and 1,456 hours per annum.
Yeah.
I've decided I'm going to take 2 weeks holiday, ignoring bank holidays, which gives me 56 hours, which is obviously 28 hours times 2.
Yes.
Because I'm only working 4 days.
Yes.
Percentage of non-billable hours, I've just put at 25%, which makes my billable hours 75%. So to get your calculation for your actual billable hours, you take obviously this figure here, which is the number of hours you'll work in a day.
In a year.
In a year, yeah. All annual figures, all annual figures. Deduct the holiday hours, which is 56, which gives you 1,400.
Nice and handy.
Yeah. And then you times that by your billable time, which is 0.75, and that will give you your billable hours. So my billable hours in a year would be 1,050. And then all you do is you take your adjusted earnings figure, which was 25,000, and divide it by my billable hours, which is 1,050, which gives me an hourly rate of 23.81, which round up is £24 an hour.
Yeah.
So the actual, as you can see, the actual calculation is fairly simple. It's the information gathering is the sort of the hard slog bit, really.
It's finding out how many billable hours I find the trickiest, because it's not always easy, especially if you don't have a set routine, figuring out how many hours do you actually work in the week. And you do have to take a little bit of leeway with it and round it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll do 10 hours and others I'll do 2. But as a rule, I'll do about, 30 hours a week or something.
So it's having a look at kind of an average week.
Yeah.
And sort of saying, well, actually, I did this many hours on products or services, and this was spent on admin side of it, and then just work out a rough percentage of an average week. It's
actually worth keeping a diary, and I would suggest it over a period of a month.
Yeah.
As you do have, there's rhythms to everything, and just note down how much time you're spending and on what you're spending it on. So am I spending it on marketing? Am I spending it on doing something? The direct, like painting, again, other side, guinea pig, or am I doing something like scrolling through Facebook for an hour because I've just zoned out and need to, which is all fine. But writing it down, you often, it can sometimes show up habits that maybe you think you're working flat out 10 hours a day, but actually you're probably doing 7 and only 4 of those on productive activities. So but that's a really useful thing to look at, because not only does it feed into this, but then later on when we come to talking about marketing, pricing and other things, you can see where you're spending your time, because your time is your biggest resources.
Exactly. And there's plenty of apps and everything out there. I think I've probably mentioned one in the group already. I think I commented on a post a couple of weeks ago. I think I used to use Toggl.
I heard about that. Yes.
So you can get a free account, and it's TOGGL, and it's great. I think you can get an app for your phone as well, and you can get an add-on for your web browser, so you can just click it and start a job.
Yes, because you can do that in Trello? You can do that as well, or something. I'm very old school. I have a paper work week diary and I write in it, but that's because I'm old school. It's much easier to do it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, either way, you know, you do whatever's easier for you, but trying to keep a track of it over a period of time, and that will allow you to see how many hours, you know, you think, oh, I want to work 4 days a week, when actually, well, I'm only really actually doing work for 3.
Or on the other side, you think, oh, I'm only working 4 days a week, and when you're looking at it, actually you're working 8.
Yes. And then you've got something wrong with you
as well sometimes. And then you can range and possibly look at what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to work both ways. So it'll either help. It should help you.
It'll help in either way, but
exactly.
It will be illuminating.
Yes, hopefully.
Or it will be illuminating. You might not like what we're illuminating. Or it might just prove that you know what you're doing, in which case,
exactly, which is brilliant.
Yes, that's never yet.
The last image that I wanted to show tonight was just an image that's been floating around sort of Facebook and everything, that virtual assistants have kind of used as an idea of what is included in their hourly rate. So it's not really aimed at creatives or anything. It's just an image that I've seen floating about that I thought was a good one to show you. And I've also done a little calculation just to maybe open your eyes a little bit. So I'll see if it'll let me open. There we go.
Yay.
So this basically talks you through the true rate of a virtual assistant. So obviously in my business, I started off charging an hourly rate, and then you get clients coming along, well, that's just too expensive. I could pay an employee for this. And then you then start obviously getting into arguments with clients as to what's included in that hourly rate.
Yeah.
So obviously this image is fairly simple. So they're basing it on a 30-hour work week.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the £25 is about the industry average for virtual assistants. So that's what they've based it on. So as you can see, you've got tax and national insurance at £4.24.
Yeah.
Systems and subscriptions at £1.19. Compliance at 10p. Utilities at 31. Training at 19p. Marketing at 29p. Memberships at 38p. And insurance at 23p.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, once you add all those together and deduct it from your hourly rate, your actual true sort of take-home pay is £18.7p.
And that's for your billable hours.
That's for your billable hours, yes. Yeah. So I kind of looked at it, and when you talk about people, what kind of do you charge your time on things? Some will either say no, or others will say, yeah, I just use the hourly rate. I just use the minimum wage.
Oh.
So yes. I did a quick calculation. I have included tax and national insurance in this. I did a quick calculation of the minimum wage for over 25s, which is £8.72, and over with a 30-hour work week. Typed it quickly into Listen to Taxman, just to get the deductions figure, and then obviously divided that over 30 hours to give me a per hour figure. So once you look at that, so you take £8.72 an hour.
Yeah.
You deduct all these deductions, including the tax and national insurance, gives you deductions of £3.15, which gives you £5.57 an hour, which is less than the minimum wage for an 18 to 20-year-old, which is £6.45 an hour.
Oh, that stings. Yes.
So that's where obviously the infographic comes in handy to actually make you focus and actually look, well, actually, I can't charge £8.72 an hour. I've got to charge more because all these deductions have to come off that.
Yes. And that goes back to the difference of when you're thinking hourly rate, it is not hourly rate like an employee hourly rate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that kind of puts it into perspective a little bit. You know, you look at this image, which is £25 an hour, and they're taking home £18. And obviously, if you're charging your time at minimum wage, then you're taking home less than minimum wage for a 20-year-old.
I think I did a little over the weekend, a little look at calculating my hourly rate when I first started as a artist, and I was doing commissions for £75 or £100 for a commission, and I worked out less the materials and the true hourly rate that I was charging, and I was actually charging less than £2 an hour.
It's really scary because you don't actually. I'm
Yeah.
just going to remove this screen share. It is quite scary because you don't. That's better. I'm pressing buttons. You don't. You don't think about it like that. So until you actually sit down and work it out.
And I'd never looked at the amount of time I spent doing a portrait.
Yeah.
Which hasn't changed really. It's about, I spend about the same amount of time, and I was I thought, well, no wonder I was stressed. No wonder I was getting millions of, well, not millions, but way too many commissions than I could take on, and it was stressing me out, and I wasn't earning anything, and that was why my actual hourly rate was around £2. So that shows how much I valued myself.
Exactly. Apprentices get paid more.
Well, exactly. Well, I was giving more to my kids in pocket money, for God's sake. Ludicrous. So it's, you do, it makes you think, and then you change your ways.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and it really is that's part of the mindset that we did a few weeks ago. Is when you start valuing yourself, other people will value you as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we're trying to get with this group. Is obviously, we want to help you with your costings and your pricings, and it is just a kind of a bear with us, and we'll get there. There's a lot of build-up work.
There is. There's a lot to it. You've got to know all the groundwork, that know your numbers, but you've got to know all that base layer before we can start layering the other things on top. And every now and again, it is going to feel a bit overwhelming, and maybe it's a bit. It's not. Money and numbers and things aren't always nice, and a lot of people have very bad relationships with numbers, especially if you've struggled for a long time, and especially if you've been brought, I mean, I was brought up in a family that we didn't have a huge amount, and so I have quite a negative relationship with money, or I did have for a very long time, and that and we need to break that down too, but you've got to know your numbers first and have that solid grounding, build up, and then we can start really flying.
So obviously we kind of touched on what we're going to focus on the next few weeks. Next week we are kind of going to have a sort of a quick week about sort of researching competitors, what to look at, what not to look at, pricing for the market.
I'm quite excited about this one actually, because I've fallen into a few of the pitfalls that we're going to so I'm really looking forward to sharing what those, and it'll be interesting to see if you guys do the same thing that I used to do. I'm not going to say any more because it'll spoil it.
So this week, if I check my notes, obviously this week, the following week, there will be a blog on the Thursday. So a week on Thursday will be a blog that Sue will be writing.
I will. Yes, I promise. Yes.
I'll probably get it on the Wednesday night.
I'll try and do it sooner than that.
Wednesday afternoon.
We'll be ready.
We also have 2 case studies which we are going to be sort of looking at over the next few weeks as well. So those calls are booked in. We're not going to give anything away because it'll be interesting to see what comes of those case studies.
Yes, I'm looking forward to seeing if there's a lot of similarities.
Yes,
which gives us an indication of whether people have the same issues.
Yeah, absolutely. We also have a bit of an update regarding the app.
Yes.
Sue, do you want to give a quick update?
Basically, as you guys may or may not know, we're looking at devising an app that's going to help you, take you through these sorts of questions that we've been discussing over the last few weeks, and we'll be continuing to discuss. And we are working with Lancaster University, and the Lancaster University is helping us develop the think it's probably the prototype, or certainly up to that.
Like the framework, isn't it?
Yeah, the framework and potentially the prototype as well, depending on how excited they get about the idea. At the moment, they're quite excited, which is nice. So we've just started on the workshops, and we should be able to start sharing more details as we go on over the next few weeks. So watch this space. But the more input you give us,
yeah, exactly, will definitely
and
help.
the more we can put into this app. And what we want to do as well is you guys to be our beta testers. So absolutely take part, be vocal, tell us everything. No, actually, no. Tell us everything to do with your business. Says the person who's just spent the last 10 minutes telling Louise how I've been surreptitiously meeting strange men in car parks. I can hand artwork over, but it sounds just a bit off.
Dodgy dealings.
Dodgy dealings. Well, we're not allowed to go to each other's houses, so we're all meeting in Aldi car parks across the country. Yeah, so do be vocal, do tell us, because we are actually going to use all this information and all this data and create something for you guys to make it easier for you. So do help.
Yes, please do. So I hope you found tonight's live helpful, whether you've watched live or you're watching on replay. Again, as normal, if you've got any questions, either pop them in the comments below, or you can send myself and Sue a private message, which is absolutely fine.
Absolutely.
So yes, so hopefully this will help you a little bit more. As I said, if you haven't already given it a go and tried to follow the infographic, please do
try. Yeah,
do try and give it a go. And thanks to Sue, I will hopefully get a spreadsheet.
Sorry, it's a really cool idea, because then you can play with it. And if you're not good with spreadsheets, if you've got boxes that are coloured in, which is like, do not touch this box, and these are the ones you can play with, then you can see what happens. Sorry.
I should hopefully be able to get that up in the next couple of days.
Everybody had better use it, otherwise she's going to kill me.
Oh dear, I give up. So we'll leave it there for now, and we will see you in a couple of weeks. Yeah. For another live. We'll review obviously everything that we're discussing next week and give you an update of the following week as well.
Yeah, we've got a big week with Lancaster Uni next week, so that's going to be a bit exciting. And we might start looking at marketing and pricing. Yeah. But you've got to have your cost base first, so know your numbers and do the infographic.
And now you've had your telling off from Sue.
Yeah, exactly. I don't do that very often.
Oh dear. We will say good night, and we will see you in a couple of weeks.
Yes, we will. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.